crypto predictions for the week of January 4th to January 11th. Starting off with Solana here, let's look at what happened last week. Last week we had it sweeping some sort of liquidity thing go up or down. Now I thought it would go down before we went up. It didn't. It went up, down, and then went up. We swept this liquidity right here, came down to sweep this liquidity, and then we just went up very slowly, and then it rapidly picked up throughout the week. So let's mark this out. We'll start with the week and we'll mark out some higher time frame support and resistance. Let's go back to the week here. So on Solana, we have just came down to our pretty much our ultimate bottom, right? We've swept all the liquidity except for this point right here. It's a great indication that we're going to start to come back up, honestly. And if you see what price is doing, first off, look at this. We've been in this huge downtrend for the past couple months where you have, bam, look at these candles right here. I said this in the last video. There's two indications on higher time frames there's two things I look for in higher time frames to indicate momentum slowing down. Let's say this is our last support right down here. First indication that momentum is dying down. When you see the size of the body start to decrease. So if we're in a downtrend, you see this huge body right here. That's a great indication that there is a lot of selling momentum, right? There's nothing pushing the sellers back up. We come back down, we see more selling momentum. There's still a lot of selling momentum, but as it gets closer to our area right here, we can see that the buyers start to pick up a little bit. But how a candle moves is people are willing to buy right here, right? Candles are just indications of whether people are willing to buy at that price or not, or they're willing to sell. Like someone who's willing to, if the price is going down, it means that someone's willing to sell it for less than someone's willing to buy it. Like right here at 380. If someone had one Solana, and they wanted to sell it at, say it was worth 385. Right here, if there's a lot of sellers, it means that buyers aren't willing to buy it at this price. So it needs to go down. So people who are selling are like, you know what? It's like on Facebook Marketplace when you have a car. You see a car up there for a month, they might start at $10,000, but then next month it's at $9,000, right? Because they're willing to sell it for less. So this is just an indication that people are not willing to buy at this price. So they have to keep dropping it. When it gets to here and you start to see the body go up a little bit, it means that you know what? There's more people willing to sell at this price right here than they are right here. So when you see these big long bodies right here, these big long wicks right here with small bodies, it means that there's more people willing to buy at this price. It's a great indication that the selling momentum is starting to die off. And then when you see these tiny little candles right here, doesn't matter the wick, but look right here. People are willing to buy and sell pretty much at the same price, right? That's what consolidation is, right? The bears or the bulls aren't dominating the market. So when you see this, the body size start to die down, and then the whole candle start to die down, that's a great indication that selling momentum is starting to die off. And that could be the same for if this was going in an uptrend, it could be a great indication that buyers are starting to die off. Like this is a great trick that I learned right here. This means that when you see a candle like this, it means that there's way more sellers than there is buyers. There is nothing pushing price back up. People are selling, 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 selling. The price is decreasing. There's no buyers pushing it up. Obviously, we get down a little bit, we're going to see some buyers push it up a little bit, but that's a great indication that there is significantly more sellers than there is buyers in the market. When you see a candle price like this, it means that there's sellers, more sellers, more sellers, more sellers, more sellers. They start to enter into a zone where there's the buyers start to kick in, right? It gets down to this price. People are like, oh, I want to buy at this price. So they start pushing it up, pushing it up, pushing it up, pushing it up, pushing it up. In between these two zones right here, the buyers and the sellers are pretty much equal, right? Like there's this one right here, the throughout the whole candle, the sellers are dominant. Right here, this indicates that when it came down to this price, the buyers were more active than the sellers. Like if I were to mark it out right here, in between this zone and here, like that's all the sellers. That's what the ratio of sellers is. On this candle right here, like that's what that looks like. Actually, let me like that's what the difference between sellers and buyers is. Right here we have almost an even one because as soon as this right here, as soon as the sellers came back down, the buyers kicked right back in and pushed it back up. Right? So like the buyers were sitting down here. Price came down to a point where the buyers were happy. And what happened? They pushed the market back up. Right? So that's what the candle would look like. That's why when you go down to a lower time frame, you're literally just going to see this. Sell, buy. Opposed to this candle right here, the buyers were down here. Sellers came down. Buyers were not happy with it. They literally only pushed it up this much. Right? So the candle is going to look more like this. That's not a great buying indication. That's probably a great selling indication because what's going to happen next candle, we're probably just going to push down a little more. So when you see something like this, we're seeing sellers, sellers, buyers are starting to kick in right here. But this is an even better indication because it means that the buyers are right at this zone. So when I look at this right here on the day, I see, well, we can see that there's buy, 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 but there's more sellers. So sellers push, 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 push. Candles start to die off as we get closer to the zone right here. What happens? We try to reject. Nope. We come down. Sell, sell. The candles start to die off a little bit. We come back up. We get to this zone right up here because this is support and resistance. We get to this resistance right up here. And what happens? The candles start to die off a little bit. Like, look at this. Big candle, small. Then we reject. Even this right here, look, a huge, massive sell candle. Right after it, we still keep going up. I mean, buy candle, we still keep going up. But the momentum is definitely shifted quite a bit because look how small this candle is. And what happens next one? Bam, bam. So when I look at this and I see price came in, big candle, smaller candle, rejection, price comes up again. Look at this on the day. Look, we see this wick, so we're selling. Big candle, smaller candle, big candle. That's shocking, actually. But then price starts to reject a little bit. And now we're seeing the momentum die off a tiny bit as we get back up towards this selling area right here. So let's get rid of this stuff right here. Mark out some liquidity on the day. Go validate them on the hour. So now when we look at what we think price is going to do for the week, so we're actually at on the hour right here, we're actually at a pretty good, like, resistance. This was a sweep then drop, so that's a pretty valid point right here. And if you look what's happening, price is consolidating. It's struggling at this point right here. This is a great sign though, because it either means we're gonna sweep low to continue pushing up, try and push back up. So we've ran out of gas right here. You're out of gas. So they either have to come back to the gas station to go up, or we're just gonna summon our last willpower and just push up for this liquidity, or we could try, fail, and then we'll come back. So I'm looking for how this moves right here. I'm looking for seeing what price does in this consolidation. And then that's going to be an indication. Because if we were to look at it, we're technically still bearish on the day, bearish on the week. Although, if you were ambitious, you could consider that a break of structure. But I'm going to refrain from doing that. If I had to guess, I actually don't know. Because price kind of rallied up for... I honestly think we're probably definitely going to see some sort of die off, just because look at the momentum dying off right as we get to our like an area of like a key area of support or resistance, depends what you want to call it. So I think we'll either try to get a little higher and then drop down, but we'll definitely see at least a wick or a day candle going down to grab more liquidity to then push up, or it just continues down. Like if this is a shift of structure, then we're going to keep going up, but because on the week, it could be a shift of structure. Look at that momentum right there. We wick. So that's why I'm going to be looking. All right, XRP. Dude, look at that. XRP just rallied up. And momentum's still pushing high. Last week, we did exactly what we said. Last week, we had it went up, came back down, but we had it sweeping this liquidity right here to then reject off of this fair value gap right here. This is a textbook break of structure. This was a great trade. Look right here. Price is going like this. Goes down. Shift to structure. Rejection for the highs. Textbook. And then what happens when every time prices come into the zone, the wicks, it just rejects. So when price came back in and it literally took out all the liquidity right here, only thing left now is here. Price hits it, rockets back up. So I think we are looking very bullish on XRP right now. Actually, we are getting to this key area right here, though. I'd keep an eye out for when price gets to price has struggled in this area for a while, so I think we could end up having just a choppy week. If we see price blow through this like this, just keep rallying up, that's a great indication that we're going high. Obviously, we'll have to make a retracement at some point, but I'm going to look to see how the first day candle goes. If we keep this moment, because we had a little die off of momentum as we got to the resistance zone, but if I see price continue with this kind of momentum where we see these big body candles, then I'm looking, because obviously our next area is a liquidity right here. So this is our higher time frame targets right up here. And if you look on the hour, we're not even consolidating yet. There's a lot of liquidity sitting right here. So I almost be looking for price to retrace a little bit into one of these fair value gaps like this or this to then go up. But I need to see a very, very strong rejection, especially on the 15-minute and the hour. And then I'm going to be targeting these higher ones. These are ambitious goals, but or price could just come back down and sweep all this liquidity, and then we restart the process again of waiting for this rejection. But XRP is definitely looking good. Momentum's definitely dying off, and you can see right here we get bam. I think Ethereum has to go down. Like there's so much unswept liquidity underneath us. But every time price comes to the zone, we've had a little bit of troubles right here. So this is kind of a given that look at the momentum die off right here. This is the prime example of what I just showed in the momentum thing. Big candle, smaller. I think we'll probably see, there's so much liquidity right here. I think if we see this and it comes up above here to wick, I think if we see a wick, that's a great indication that we're not actually going for it. If we see a higher time frame wick on the 4-hour or like the 1-hour stuff, that's a probably good indication that we're at least coming down for some of this liquidity, because this was literally a liquidity farm. They were stacking that shit up, trying to get as much liquidity as possible. Even down here, like this stuff is getting taken the fuck out. All this stuff right here. So me personally, I'm not going to be buying on Ethereum just because there's so much sell side liquidity, and all of our buy side liquidity, like the next sell side liquidity we have right here is all the way up here. I'm not considering this liquidity. They're taken out? No. I think I'm probably going to be looking for a rejection. I'm not going to lie. All right, Bitcoin. Still in this consolidation zone, and we have marked out right here. We did see at least a direction push last week. Like the other weeks, we've just had these rejection consolidation candles, dojis. The day we just took out all this liquidity right here. Damn, big liquidity sweep. And look at momentum dying right off. Big candle, big candle, wick. This is literally the example I just showed. Big candle, wick. The momentum, smaller candle, smaller candle. And where is it starting to die off in? Right in this area, this liquid fair value gap. We go to the hour. That is clear signs that we were starting to die off a little bit. Now we're technically not bearish until we take out this right here on the 4 hour. Same for the hour. We're not bearish until we take that out. There's liquidity sitting right above us right here. I think we'll probably see this. I'm going to try and pinpoint accuracy call this shit. I think we're probably going to see this. We're going to go reject, bam, bam, bam. That's my prediction. It's very, very bold. But we have these two fair value gaps sitting right here. Like, look how price rejected off this last fair value gap right here. We swept this liquidity right here. Price comes up, takes out this liquidity, goes down. Let's make it green for this. We reject off this fair value gap and we come for the liquidity. So we're probably going to come back up, retest this zone because we also just came into this. Oh, we actually haven't taken that out. So we do have this fair value gap right here. But I just think we're seeing momentum die off on the higher time frames. And we are in consolidation and there's a lot of liquidity centered underneath. So I'm probably going to refrain from trading on ETH, Bitcoin, just because they're not looking as good as they should be. But XRP is moving nice. Terrible one to trade, but I think we'll see some basic market structure on XRP and Solana. I think we'll see some probably things. This is going to be a week where I recommend trading on higher time frames opposed to lower ones. Like if the higher time frame direction is bullish, probably don't go into shorts. Like wait for your market, like your change of structures and market shifts on higher time frame, hour and above, just because I mean throughout the past week it's been moving pretty nice. You can see the momentum and stuff like that. So, you know.